So here's the question. Why do most people work so hard, yet still can't make big money? Why do you work overtime every day, push yourself to the limit, and still only manage an ordinary life? Why is it that some people always seem to catch the right wave, rise in an instant, and see their wealth multiply? Is it really because they're smarter? Or is it because destiny, luck cycles, personal structure, even the fate of a nation play a role behind the scenes? Today, let's break this down from the perspective of fate and wealth. First, let's talk about the structure of intelligence. In Chinese metaphysics, there is a very important configuration called eating god, Shishan, and hurting officer, Shangguan. In modern terms, eating god represents imagination and creativity, while hurting officer represents the spirit of breaking rules and daring to challenge norms. In other words, the courage to dream big and take action. Many genius-type entrepreneurs have very strong Shishan Shangguan patterns in their charts. They not only come up with ideas that others can't imagine, but more importantly, they dare to put those ideas into action. Take Steve Jobs, for example. He's a classic case of this configuration. When others thought a phone was just for making calls, he dared to imagine putting a computer into a phone. When others thought music meant CDs and tapes, he created iTunes and put music into the internet. This is exactly what we call eating God generates wealth, turning smart creativity into a fountain of fortune. But intelligence is a double-edged sword. In his early years, Jobs was arrogant and rebellious, so much so that he was eventually kicked out of the very company he founded. That's a textbook case of excessive hurting officer, where cleverness backfires. Zhuangzi once said, "Great wisdom appears at ease, while small wisdom is busy and restless." Those with great wisdom are calm and spacious in mind. Those with only small cleverness are often anxious, impatient, and short-sighted. Jobs' early destiny was exactly this: talented but restless, brilliant but intolerant of others. It was only after failure that he gradually learned composure, turning raw cleverness into true wisdom. Next, let's talk about timing and luck cycles. In fate analysis, there is a decisive factor called Dayun, your major fortune cycle. You can think of it as your personal climate. Even the best seed needs the right weather to bloom. When Jobs returned to Apple, it happened to coincide with the rise of the internet and the tech revolution. Elon Musk's rise matched perfectly with the wave of new energy and global capital. That's the classic case of structure meeting timing. Why is it so hard for ordinary people to replicate their success? Because most charts don't have such powerful creative structures. And even more importantly, they don't align with that historical wind of opportunity. Hard work is necessary, but timing is the ultimate accelerator. Finally, let's talk about environment and backing. Why do many ordinary people, even when they have good ideas, find it hard to see them through, because the cost of failure is simply too high. Mortgages, parents to support, kids to raise. These realities push you towards stability. But for others, they have family resources, capital, and connections behind them. Even if they fail several times, they can still start again. Because they have a safety net, they can truly go all in. At this point you may wonder, does that mean if you don't have hurting officer in your chart, you'll never get a chance? The answer is no. Fate is not a verdict, it's a reminder. It reminds us to recognize our limits, and then actively create ways to compensate. You can deliberately train your creativity by constantly testing small ideas. You can build networks, find partners and mentors. You can learn to observe trends and put your effort where it multiplies more easily. You can design a safety net for yourself, whether through side income, an emergency fund, or a backup plan. So, why do most people fail to make big money? It's not because you didn't work hard enough. It's because you were missing 3 things. A smart structure, the ability to generate ideas and act on them. A favorable cycle, the right timing and opportunities. A safety net, the courage to persist through failure. Effort is a necessary condition, but not the whole story. Your intelligence determines whether you can come up with ideas. Your timing determines whether those ideas can take root. Your environment determines whether you dare to keep going until success arrives. Fate is not a cage, it's a compass. And when structure, timing, and environment overlap, wealth finally has a chance to magnify.